a very happy new year 2025. Do you remember when 2012 rolled around and everybody's like, oh, that's the last year of the Mayan calendar, so that's the end of the world. I think they even did a big blockbuster movie about that, if you remember right. Guess what? Suck it, Hollywood. We made it. We're in 2025. And I'm your host, Austin Facer. Thank you for tuning in to SLC Puck, the first episode of the new year. Wow, this is kind of fun. We did 70 episodes in 2024. In 2025, I wonder how many we'll do. I'm guessing 400 at the current pace. It feels like, at least. I'm exhausted. This team is playing with my emotions. It's a roller coaster, to say the least. But you know what helps me feel better? Some SLC Puck merch. SLC Puck merch solves all your problems. It really does. Look at this beanie, this shirt. We've got great hoodies available. Look at all this great stuff. It's priced at cost, so I make almost nothing on it. But if you'd like, you can leave a donation at checkout. That would be a great way to support the show. Also, like, comment, subscribe. Check out KSL.com's coverage of the Utah Hockey Club. All that good stuff. Great ways to support your favorite Utah hockey podcast. I'm assuming, at least you're here, right? SLC Puck. And I'll tell you what we don't have on our shop, though. We don't have any Spicy Tuna branded gear. We don't have this. This is available in the Utah Hockey Club team store. And I bet they'll be flying off the shelves even more so after Spicy Tuna's performance in a loss against Edmonton the other night. And hey, before we jump into my analysis of that game and the implications as such, marked 5 straight losses for the Utah Hockey Club, let me first give a big shout out to my friend Kim Becker, who she's the studio host for the Utah Hockey Club broadcast. She and her husband celebrated the birth of their first child on New Year's Eve, I think. So, or maybe the night before. But anyway, whatever it is, it's bad for your taxes, is what I've heard. Is you want to have your kid after the new year, because then you can claim them for the whole year. Or no, maybe they got it just right, actually. They got the perfect situation for their taxes. They can claim that kid for all of 2024 and then just go into the new year, claim that kid for the 2025 taxes. Very smart, Kim Becker. I like that. Great job. And we wish her and her family well. Super fun. And while we're talking about Utah Hockey Club broadcasts, we'll have more Nashcasts in January as well. I believe the Blues game is what we have targeted for Nashcast. So I'll have more to say about that shortly. But back to the subject at hand. And again, this team is making me a little sick to my stomach because my emotions are getting played with. I talk about this every day, every episode, just the roller coaster of emotions that I feel with this team. I've pointed out that some people made fun of me for saying the sky was falling after the Ducks game the other day when they blew a 4-1 lead, lost the game in overtime. I was like, this is a disaster. This is horrific. And someone on KSL.com said, very sarcastically, the sky must be falling. Well, guess what? It is now. It sort of is now. And maybe it's not. I don't know. But this team lives on both ends of extremes right here. They're either on winning streaks or losing streaks. It's crazy. It's bonkers. There's no middle ground with this team. Someone who watches the show commented that on my last video, and they nailed the nail on the head. I'm sure I said that phrase wrong. I say things wrong all the time. But this team is really, again, roller coasters to say the least. But the Edmonton game, I think, was really interesting. And I think there are a couple things that happened that could be catalysts for change here in the years and months to come. And maybe we'll see how this affects the rest of the game, because I think we saw a couple of very interesting things. Now, it was a 4-1 loss to Edmonton, again, marked the Utah Hockey Club's 5th straight loss on the season. Very interesting situation. Clayton Keller, Captain Kell's Keller instinct, was a last-minute scratch with an illness. Must have had some bad poutine up there in Alberta. And no offense to anybody out there in Alberta. I love the West Edmonton Mall, by the way. I've been to the West Edmonton Mall. It's cool. It's fun. So no shade there. But Clayton Keller was ruled as a last-minute scratch. He took warm-ups, but then right as they dropped the puck to start the game, Matt McConnell and Nick Olczyk announced that he was going to be listed as a scratch. Liam O'Brien was activated. You know him best as Spicy Tuna. The guy who said, let's get the Delta Center buzzing.
I cannot wait to get this place buzzing. Let's go.
Yeah, you might have forgotten about that guy. He hasn't played in a game since October 28th, so that was his first appearance in the lineup. And it was he was kind of like a jolt of electricity in some ways. He had a couple of really great scoring chances in the first period. And in a 4-1 loss, and one of those goals for Edmonton was an empty netter by Leon Draisaitl at the end. But if one of those goals goes in early on, it's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new puck game, I guess you could say, for the Utah Hockey Club. But unfortunately, they did not, and the Utah Hockey Club, gave up the first goal of the game kind of early on. And then came back. Jack McBain tied it up. A nice little Costco connection pass from his roommate, Dylan Guenther. And I know what you're thinking, actually. I know you're thinking, like, I'm wearing these sunglasses. Maybe I'm doing an impression of Connor Bedard at the Winter Classic, right? That was, by the way, so cool to see the Winter Classic at Wrigley Field between the Blackhawks and the Blues. And those are great pictures. I would love to have a picture of myself like that. But I'm not doing an impression of Connor Bedard. I'm doing an impression of Dylan Guenther. This you might remember Dylan Guenther giving his tour of his house, not too long ago, and he's a funny dude. But anyway, he and his roommate Jack McBain connected for Utah's lone goal against Edmonton. They give up 2 goals by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins within a span of like 30 seconds of each other to go down 3-1, and then Draisaitl scores an empty netter to put the game really out of reach. But again, it was really, really interesting to see O'Brien injected into the lineup. We've said it for a little bit right now. He's gone missing. He's gone absent. He's been a healthy scratch most of the year. But it was sort of very, I guess, thought-provoking to see him back in the lineup because, truthfully, there are parts of the Utah Hockey Club lineup that need a shakeup. And with the team already on a losing streak, it's like, well, what could go wrong? What could go worse at this point? We might as well try to shake things up. A big reason why the Utah Hockey Club has been a little reluctant to shake up the lineup, maybe put O'Brien back in there, has been because 3 of their 4 lines have been playing very well. Now, you'll notice I said 3 of those 4. There's been a big issue with their third line. I'm talking about Lawson Krause, Nick Bjugstad, Matthias Michelli. These guys all each scored 20 goals each with the Arizona Coyotes last year. This year, tracking much less. They've been very, very unproductive this season. It feels like something has to happen, and we saw it last night. Liam O'Brien was plugged into that. He played alongside Bjugstad and Krause. Michelli was moved up to the top line. And then it just kind of flowed from there. They had to do a bunch of different things to make up for the fact that Keller was gone. But it's really interesting. And one of those guys, and I hate to throw some shade, I really do. I'm sure he's a great guy. Lawson Krause has been having a career worst year. Let's just put it mildly. I think he's well below his typical pace for goals. I think he might only have like 4 goals on the season. I think he probably, and only like 3 assists, so only 7 points on the year. And I think this is a guy who scored 20 goals last year, putting him, in that echelon of dangerous goal scorers in the NHL. Something's got to be shaken up. And if you go on Utah Hockey Club's social media, not the team's social media, but the fans, what they're chirping, what they're saying about what's happening on the ice, there is a major cry to get Lawson Krause, shaken up, maybe taken out of the lineup as a healthy scratch. Something to send a message, and you got to wonder if maybe now that O'Brien's had some ice time under his feet, and let's assume that Keller isn't out too much longer. He's going to have some Tums, he's going to have some Pepto-Bismol, maybe some Alka-Seltzer. He'll be ready to go hopefully soon. Shouldn't be out of the lineup too much longer. Is it time to take Lawson Krause out? And I'm not the only one who's asking this question. All my great listeners here, I appreciate you guys so much. I have the SLC Puck hotline. That number is 919-666-PUCK, P-U-C-K, on the keypad. That's 7825. So one more time, 919-666-7825. That's where you guys can call in, give your takes, ask some questions here. And someone who called in posed this very same question. So Let's tune in and listen to hear what one of our great listeners had to say.
Hi, my name is Jane. I'm responding. I'm commenting on take about the third line for the UHC. I'm getting ready to watch tonight's game, and I'm going to be paying attention to it. I live here in Phoenix, and I have been following Lawson Krause, and his lack of production is certainly get to the point of where possibly he may have to be moved. That his name might start coming up in trade rumors. I'm starting to hear some rumblings on here. There's another local show that his name might start considered to be dealt to another team, and it's possible that he may need a change of scenery to turn his game around. And also, it's kind of surprising that Coach Bear hasn't considered healthy scratching him for a game or two so that he could, sit back and take a look, just sit and watch the game and maybe try to jumpstart. But at this point, 4 goals and 7 points at this stage is a point of concern. And it's actually the whole third line is troubling. In order to be a playoff contender, you need three productive lines, and the third line is starting to become a red flag, and GMBA may have to make a move, and one of the pieces is Lawson Krause. That's my take, and I love your show from down in the desert. Thanks.
Awesome. First of all, let me just say I love our listeners. You guys are awesome. It's always interesting to me when I hear about a female listener, because I can look at my analytics on YouTube, and it's so funny because it says 99% male, but it seems like that 1% is very passionate, the female listeners. So that's really awesome to hear. So big thanks to, I didn't quite catch the name. I think it was Jane, but she's down in Arizona, and I really love the people who listen to SLC Puck from all over. So big thanks to Jane in Arizona for calling in and utilizing the SLC Puck hotline. She asked a really good question, just to sort of summarize it. She's like, hey, Lawson Krause hasn't been playing well. She's right. He's got just 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points on the season. Looking at last year's statistics in 81 games, he had 23 goals, 19 assists for 42 points. So well off of that pace right now. And her question, what she's putting out there is she's like, it seems like he's a guy that GMBA, my man crush, general manager Bill Armstrong, may have to deal, especially if this team really wants to make a playoff push. And I'll tell you this, Jane, and if I'm wrong, sorry, I don't disagree. I think that he's someone who should have to be moved or should be a healthy scratch. And as I said, I think it'll be interesting now that O'Brien's had some ice time under his feet as of late. Maybe he'll be put into the lineup in place of Krause just for a game or two, just to see what happens. But there's a couple problems with dealing Lawson Krause at this point. And here's what's happening here. Lawson Krause, for one, is kind of a very popular guy on the team. He is someone that the guys in the locker room really like. He's the only one who consistently wears the A. Clayton Keller wears the C as the captain. Not long after that, Lawson Krause was named the associate captain in the offseason. That means something. That means his teammates have a lot of respect for him. He's a guy whose voice carries a lot of weight. I don't see them shaking up the morale of this team. I think that's one of the real good feel-good stories of this. What's happening right now at the Utah Hockey Club is the guys are happy. They're excited to be here. They feel like they're given the tools to succeed. And shipping out one of the most popular guys because he's in a slump, I think kind of throws a monkey wrench into that situation. But that said, I do think it's time to take Krause out of the lineup for a game or two and stick Spicy Tuna in there. I think a goal by Spicy Tuna or a fight or an assist or something he can do to create a moment for this team could turn things around and get them back on track because, again, I said it, is the sky falling? It's not falling. Let's put it like this, okay? At the time, it wasn't too long ago, we were so excited about the Utah Hockey Club making the playoffs a real possibility. Maybe I jinxed the team. If I did, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to do that. But let's just look at the Western Conference standings right now. We can see in the Central Division. And just a reminder, if you're new to the NHL, if you're new to SLC Puck, the way the playoffs work in hockey, there's two conferences, Eastern, Western, two divisions in each conference. The top three teams from each of those divisions are in, and then two wildcard teams after that, the two teams with the next best records. So the Utah Hockey Club is in the Central Division. Okay, we're all caught up. Okay, now we're good. Central Division, the Western Conference Central Division standings look like this right now. As of the 1st of January, 2025, the Winnipeg Jets are in first place, as they have been most of the year, with 55 points. The Wild in second with 50. The Avalanche behind them with 46. And then so we need to jump down to the wild card. We see a couple more Central Division teams, the Dallas Stars, the Calgary Flames, in those two wildcard spots. Dallas with 45, so they're not far behind the Avalanche. And then Calgary has 43. Utah Hockey Club at one point was right here on the edge. They've now bumped down. They're 3 spots out of the last wildcard position with 36 points. Again, they have a 5-game losing streak. Over their last 10 games, they're 4-4-2. So they've slowed down quite a bit. Another interesting note, we talked about this last time, they're much worse at home than they are away. I think, again, we talked about this, maybe they're trying to do a little too much in front of the home crowd. So their home record is 5-7-4. Their road record is 11-8-2. So the ship needs to be righted quickly. There are some holes that need to be plugged in the floorboards, let's put it that way. And it seems like a lineup change might be needed. Now, the other issue with trading Lawson Krause, and just to get to Jane, and again, sorry if it's not Jane. Sometimes the Google voice it kind of cuts out a little bit. But Jane posed that maybe it's time for GMBA to trade him. I said one reason is because that would maybe not be expected to happen is because he's a popular player. The other reason, I just don't know how much value he has right now. Lawson Krause, he's having a slumping year right now. Let's look at his contract. I think this could be kind of interesting to look at. I'm assuming he's got a few more years on his deal, and depending on how much that is. So he was signed to a kind of a pricey deal here. Looks like he's got a few more deal. He's got a cap hit of $4.3 million through the 2026-2027 season. So he's not an unrestricted free agent until 2027 when he's 30 years old. So again, he's not out of his prime. He's still a young guy. He still has does have a lot of value right now, but right now I think that if I was a general manager and GMBA starts calling me and starts to shop Lawson Krause, I'm lowballing the guy. I'm saying this guy sucks. He's only got 7 points. I'm not giving you the cream of the crop for Lawson Krause. So my theory is that Krause will remain a member of the Utah Hockey Club at least for the remainder of this season. Should that change later on, who knows? We'll see. But I do think that a lineup change is definitely needed. Liam O'Brien is probably opportunity number one. He's door number one. We'll say this. What game show is it where they have the doors? Let's make a deal. Yeah, if you're doing Let's Make a Deal, door number one, Liam O'Brien. Door number two, make a trade. Don't expect a lot to get from Lawson Krause. But I do think there are going to be some options at the trade deadline. And Eric Jensen and I, my good buddy, talked about this after the Avalanche game. Not the most recent one, but the one before that at the start of December, where we're like, it's going to be really interesting when we get closer to the trade deadline, when the playoff picture starts materializing. Trade deadline's in March, by the way. Who's going to be available, and if the Utah Hockey Club are going to be buyers in all this. And if they can get the ship righted with some lineup changes, get back in position for a wild card berth, I think you'll see some trades happen. And one guy, I think in particular, to keep an eye on, the guy who played in the Winter Classic last night, Taylor Hall, former NHL MVP. He'll be an unrestricted free agent next year, so he'll be just a rental. I'm sure someone will pick him up, someone who's trying to make a playoff push. And he seems like a pretty good option because he's a former MVP. He has a lot of experience in the league. He's a forward who's been around the hockey world for quite some time. I think bringing him in and having that veteran presence, showing those young guys in the forward group how to act like a pro, how to win games more than anything, I think would be good. So I think that's a name that the Utah Hockey Club will be looking at very closely. But another name the Utah Hockey Club will be looking at very closely is their own name. And we have more developments on the Utah Hockey Club's team name for our last little segment here on this episode of SLC Puck. So in case I start to go off the rails here, I've got this at arm's length. This is a tinfoil hat, okay? You guys know what the point of the tinfoil hat is, right? It's me spouting out conspiracies, admitting I know nothing, but I'm just sort of forecasting, seeing what's in what the cards are telling me and all that. What are the tarot cards? Yeah, what the tarot cards are telling me. And it's so interesting to see the back and forth on this. I don't know if anybody really knows what could or should or will happen. I think we all have a lot of guesses. We all have our own tinfoil hats in some ways, right? It's interesting. I was just at Pro Image Sports talking to the guys there, and they were like, yeah, I think I get the feeling the team name might be Yeti. I don't know if those guys know anything, but they got a lot of cool SLC Puck merch there, by the way. So check out Pro Image Sports, FYI. But it's interesting this was like the big story. I love talking about this over the summer. The story continues to live on. The speculation, we all love to speculate, right? But it's reached the national news as again. It wasn't too long ago we were talking about an update from NHL.com. Here, you might remember this article: Utah Hockey Club progressing on permanent brand identity. Utah, NHL's newest team, not expecting to announce any decisions until after inaugural season. So again, we're not going to know this until the summertime, until maybe May, June, who knows, right? But it talks so much about, apparently this story was written in Florida after the NHL Board of Governors meeting. The writer Nicholas Consta, I'm not going to try to say that, but I've got his name wrong. He's NHL.com columnist. Check it out. But, he interviewed Chris Armstrong, and apparently the story here was that he was talking with the NHL's top marketing people, branding people, and just saying, yeah, we're making good progress. We're excited, But then you go here to this other article, and I'm assuming this is written around the same time. It is written by Eric Ingles of sportsnet.ca up there in Canada. Same dateline, Florida, the city of Manalapan or whatever it's called, Florida. It's a little bit of a profile. This guy interviewed Chris Armstrong on the patio of this Palm Beach hotel and spa. They're talking about, all the breakneck, frantic pace of getting the Utah Hockey Club ready to go. It's a really nice catch-up kind of story here. I know those of us here in Utah are very well versed with what's been happening, but this is a good little synopsis here. But there's some interesting stuff here that I think has sort of led to another discussion on social media. And let me just find it here. Again, I do the reading here. Okay, here we go. On the theme of keeping what's already in place, the Utah Hockey Club name is what they're talking about here. The debate on whether to maintain the Utah Hockey Club's branding rages on in the front office. Keller said if he had a vote, he'd opt for a name. He said Yeti. We posed it to Armstrong, that's Chris Armstrong, if it could be good business to turn the inaugural season jersey into a relic and collector's item while creating a whole new buzz and merchandising boon over something like the Utah Yetis, and it would be Yeti, singular, I believe, ahead of season 2. but the club isn't sure about taking that direction at this point. And if it is, Armstrong certainly wasn't letting on, aside from offering that it was highly likely the color scheme would be maintained and that at least one of the jerseys ordered with NHL partner Fanatics would continue to display the state name on the front. Here's Chris Armstrong right here. Quote, "We don't know what we're going to do. We don't have a definite answer," he said. "Truthfully, we're still very much in that process, right in the middle of that process right now. We want to balance that with not dominating the conversation of the momentum of our season 1 story with what the future may or may not look like regarding the name and identity of the team. We want to be respectful to our fans and players to ensure the story remains about the season and what they're trying to accomplish and the support we've received to this point. But I'm not going to sit here and say revenue isn't a key focus to everything we do. Of course it is. It's just that when it comes to getting the identity right, it's much more about just that and not what the revenue opportunities look like from inaugural season to season 2. Our focus is really on getting things right. Then everything will follow." So again, I think that's really interesting because it's kind of moved, right? Right before the start of the season, Chris Armstrong is like, it's been made very clear to us what the fans want to be called. I think a lot of us were guessing that meant that Yeti had prevailed as the fan choice. And Chris Armstrong continued saying, now we're in the process of figuring out how to deliver it to the fans. And now he's like, well, we don't know. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with that. I don't know what kind of legal IP issues they're running into. I'm assuming that's part of the story. Again, I don't know. See the tinfoil's hat? I don't know. Totally just speculating. It seems like maybe they're running into like a little bit of issues working that out. I'm not certain. If I had to guess, and I'm putting the tinfoil hat on really snugly onto my head, my guess is that the Utah Hockey Club is not going to be known as such next season. It just makes way too much sense to me for all the merchandising opportunities for one. And just to be clear, I noticed this at the Avalanche game. There are a ton of people wearing Utah Hockey Club shirts, hats, sweatshirts, all that stuff. I believe that's all being purchased with the understanding that it's a 1-year deal. I think most people who are putting their money down, their credit cards, their Bitcoin down, are doing so understanding that the team name is going to be different. Okay, I think it's been out there enough. I think a lot of those people would be okay putting their Bitcoin down, their Ethereum, their Dogecoin, whatever the hell the coin is next year, down to buy Utah Yeti or Utah Outlaws merchandise. I don't think that's anything anybody would have an issue with, right? As such, I do think it would be in the best interest of the Utah Hockey Club to lean into that new branding and to come out and do it with a big bang. Do the Yeti, do the Outlaws. I think it's going to be Yeti. It just makes so much sense when you consider how much they're trying to brand and market this team to the next generation of fans, those people who are like 12, 13 years old. I like to call them my core audience, the teenagers out there, the kids, because I'm one of them. I should be like the Steve Buscemi meme. Hey kids, what's going on? One of those, right? That's who this show is really for, by the way. So if you're over 17 years old, click off now. I'm kidding. Please don't, and support the sponsors, which I don't have, but I'm hoping to have soon. But I think it's in the best interest of this team to be okay with the fact that, yes, there has been a lot of momentum. They have sold a lot of t-shirts. A lot of the stuff's really cool too, right? This spicy tuna shirt, it's really cool. And it says Utah Hockey Club shirt on it. That's okay. We can call it a relic. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people have enjoyed collecting the stuff, and we're going to have even more fun buying merchandise with the permanent team name on it. It'll be okay. Let us know what it is. We'll expect to find out in May or June. And by then, I'll have done over 100 episodes. So that's kind of crazy. Lots of fun. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Another episode of SLC Puck in the books. Again, big shout out to Kim Becker and her family. Birth of their child. Very cool. Nash cast coming later this month. And thank you for a fun 2024, everybody. And I'm excited to see what's next in 2025. And be good. Be good to yourselves. Be good to others. And we'll talk soon.